So Pablo Lopez, like maybe about a week ago, he was mentioned as a guy that the Padres could be interested in, could be kind of rumored to go after. And then it was also kind of thought that the Marlins might be viewing him less than a lot of their other guys that we initially thought like Luzardo, for instance, like that he would be worth more in a trade, right?
Yeah.
But Pablo Lopez doesn't have as much control. Coming off of kind of a bad second half, dude, I like the idea of bringing him in. Like, I don't think it's going to end up working out, but I do think that that would be a really good pickup. And I think Pablo Lopez is an extremely underrated piece.
Dude, I mean, yeah, Pablo Lopez, you guys probably know, like, that's not my first choice when it comes to the Marlins pitchers. I'm not the biggest Pablo Lopez advocate, but in terms of what the Padres need, he fits the mold more than perfect. I mean, I've been saying, yeah, Johnny Cueto is a guy that you can plug into the 4 or 5 spot, feel somewhat confident because hopefully you can get 125 to 150 innings, something like that. Wait until the deadline, then kind of reevaluate. With Pablo Lopez, you're kind of already maybe not set for the season. You still need some depth. Like that's one thing that's not being emphasized enough is that not only do we need another starter, but we need more depth because 2 times in a row, and yeah, you can say the 60 game season, blah blah blah, not a real, yeah, it wasn't a real postseason, but at the time, yeah, it was a real postseason, and we had no pitching. 2021, um, who gets injured? Chris Paddock got injured. Blake Snell got injured down the road. Yu Darvish was pitching through an injury, and we had zero depth. We had to start Craig Stammen. Let me repeat myself. We had to start Craig Stammen. We had to start Ryan Weathers. I mean, we were fighting for our lives in terms of the pitching rotation down the road. Last year, we were really lucky because you saw Mania pitch like 25 plus games. You saw Musgrove pitch 25 plus games. Darvish, same thing. Snell, same thing. And even, I mean, Mackenzie Gore was making all of his starts. You even got 20 plus from Mike Clevenger. So you were really lucky. You probably will not get that lucky again. The odds of getting that lucky again, especially because Yu Darvish is older. Um, Joe Musgrove hasn't gotten an injury. Blake Snell, I mean, he's some happened to his groin. Nick Martinez hasn't pitched many starter innings. Seth Lugo hasn't pitched many starter innings. Like, you really, really need depth. But going back to Pablo Lopez, he would be a great ad because you're not asking him to be a 1. You're not asking him to be a 2. You're not even asking him to be a 3. You got Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, and Joe Musgrove right there. Those 3 beat beat Jacob DeGrom, Max Scherzer, and Chris Bassett. So they're a damn good 3. They match up with any top 3 in baseball. So now you're asking him to be a 4. You're getting a guy that's what a career. What's his career ERA? Less than a 3.8. It's like a 3 something, like 3.7. I don't know. Matt will probably pull it up right now, but he's got good stuff. He showed good stuff in Miami. I mean, he probably will cost a lot less than Cabrera and Luzardo because of the amount of control. Pablo Lopez, 2 years of control. The others, what, 6, 5, 6? It's going to be very hard to acquire the other ones. You're going to have to give up a decent amount of prospect capital. And I don't really know if the Padres want to do that right now. I mean, you never know with AJ Preller. That's kind of going to be the big thing throughout every Padre thing you watch. You never know with AJ Preller. But Pablo Lopez would be a good ad, man. I mean, a guy that kind of found his stride last year. He was really, really good in March and April. Obviously late March and then all throughout April. The rest of the season, you kind of saw him pitch to his average numbers, but even his average numbers are pretty good. So as a number 4, I don't know what you would have to give up for him. I can imagine it's one of Ha-seong Kim, Trent Grisham, something like that. But remember, the Padres gave up, what was it? Yuri Beal, Angeles, and I forgot the other dude for Sean Manaea. So you probably have to give up a little more than that for 2 years of control. So it might not be as bad as we think. That's
Dude,
also the
and
A's, though,
honestly,
compared to the Marlins.
yeah. I would also say though, like, so you brought up Luzardo, like, the difference with Pablo Lopez and Luzardo is Pablo Lopez pitches a lot of innings. Luzardo hasn't. Like, I feel like it's kind of crazy to me that Pablo Lopez is being talked about like, and Isaac, I don't even think you're wrong, but you're talking about him like, oh, like, like a Sean Manaea deal. But that's how it's being discussed right now. Like more than that, but not by that much, which to me is insane. Because so you asked me what his career ERA is. His career ERA is barely under a 4. It's a 3.94. However, first year in the league, he had over a 4, and then second year in the league, he pitched 111 innings and he had over a 5 ERA. And then over the last two, he barely had over a 3 in 2021, and then in 2022 he had a 3.7. But remember, his first half of the year was like ridiculous, and then he was kind of like, I don't know if he was hurt or what was happening, but he's kind of a little bit up and down in the second half. Also, he played for the Marlins. None of the games mattered in the second half. Like, I do think that has an impact for how you perform, no matter what. Like, sorry, if you're playing non-competitive baseball for 4 months, like that's gonna get to you, right? That's gonna be like mentally draining. So
Mhm.
if you plug him into the Padres, he's a 4 starter. He's playing for a contending. I don't know, dude. I think he would be good. I think you get mid 3 ERA. He pitched 150 plus innings for you for 2 years. He might look to be a guy that you extend after 2 years. The Padres need guys with control. He's what? I think he's 27. Let me double check. He's 26. Dude, he's 26. I think Luzardo older than him? No,
Around
Luzardo's
the same
25.
age. Yeah.
So like the same age. Like, I don't know, dude. I really like the idea of bringing in Pablo Lopez. I feel like the thought for the Padres is we're gonna go get Cueto because we don't have to trade for him. I think if they miss on Cueto, I think they're gonna turn over to Pablo Lopez because that's also what the Padres seem to do, which is I think is always kind of weird. Where they're like, we want this guy, he's off the table. Okay, we want this guy. Like we started this offseason with Trey Turner. It was, oh, the Padres want Trey Turner. Oh, they didn't get him. Okay, they're going to Xander Bogaerts, which I don't know. I think that's funny, but I feel like Pablo Lopez could, if they don't get Cueto, if they strike out and they don't land Cueto, who is it? The Marlins. Oh shit. Okay, so then they're definitely getting Pablo Lopez. So
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
a
yeah.
race to see who gets Cueto. We're gonna have to trade for one of them.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, what was I gonna say? I had something on my mind. Damn it. Um, but Pablo Lopez makes a lot of sense in the way that, yeah, you're gonna get 2 years out of him. He's 26 years old. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, everybody talks about Ruben Niebla, and I was gonna say he doesn't get enough talk throughout the league for how well of a job he did last year. I mean, he was able. Darvish had an amazing year under him. Blake Snell had a really good bounce back second half. Joe Musgrove had a really good year. Sean Manaea, yeah, he didn't look good throughout the year, but he admitted himself he got lazy through after July. He said he got lazy and he wasn't. I don't know what happened with him, but apparently he got lazy and he wasn't pitching like himself. And so now he's going to the Giants and he's probably going to pitch pretty damn good because he's not going to be lazy anymore. Mike Clevenger was dealing with apparently he was dealing with a really bad knee problem. So he wasn't really able to be himself throughout the season. But he pitched pretty good for, the little stint that he was healthy. Nick Martinez pitched pretty good. Mackenzie Gore looked good. I mean, he had everybody looking good at one point. So if you can get somebody like Lopez, you get him with Sean Manaea, you hopefully get a 3.5 ERA. And the thing with, Lopez, Cueto, all these guys, I feel like even if they get one, they're not going to, I don't feel like they're going to stop. I really think they want to, at some point in the season, where they're probably at the beginning, some point at the beginning, I really think they want to do a 6-man rotation again because it worked beautifully last year. And maybe that's because you had so much depth. Not many teams can afford the luxury of going with a 6-man rotation. Um, we might not even have the luxury of being able to do that next year. But if they keep piling on the depth, they'll be able to do it. Um, and that's why Lopez makes sense, or even some other guys I've seen like Tanner Hook. Um, everybody talks about Cabrera and Luzardo. But we probably will have to go through the pitching market and see like what other possible trade options are there, because AJ doesn't really go to the guys that we expect. Sean Manaea, we didn't expect. I don't remember expecting Darvish or Snell or even Musgrove. So there's always a guy that's on
definitely
the
not.
market. Yeah, right. I mean, I don't remember. Um, so there's always a guy that's out there that we don't know is available that apparently is available.
Yeah, I remember when Darvish got traded for, it was like, "What?" Like, it was so
Yeah.
random, and it was like, "You Darvish?" Like, because you Darvish is a name.
Yeah, yeah,
Blake Snell, a
definitely.
name. Like, they went after a couple guys, and then it was like, "Oh, they also got Musgrove," and that was
Yeah.
a crazy one.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I like the way they use the six-man rotation too, and it's also like, when we talk about a six-man rotation, we don't mean they need to be in a six-man rotation all year. No, no, no. You go through the ebbs and flows of the season, and when there's a bunch of games and there's, you play 14 games in 15
In a
days,
row,
stuff like
yeah,
that. Then
yeah.
then you go through it. And the way that they operated through that was really good. And last year, the other thing is too is, I think you mentioned this when we started talking. I don't know if it was, I think it was when we started talking about Lopez, not Cueto, but either way, adding depth. You're talking about how the Padres kind of got lucky in a way that no one got hurt, but
Mhm.
people did get hurt last year.
Oh,
But
yeah.
early on, there was so much depth that it helped them. Now they didn't get hurt at the end of the year, and that was the difference in 2021, is that everyone just fell off a cliff, and that's where they did get lucky. But at the beginning of the year, when you kind of were operating with all that depth, with a bunch of arms that could start or at least get stretched out for a while, it worked really well. And then a lot of your guys, like Blake Snell, like you Darvish, I mean, at least I felt like they were, but I felt like they had like their best stuff come postseason.
Oh, dude.
Maybe Musgrove and Darvish were a little bit more like drained, but they didn't look like they were falling off or anything. I mean, we saw Musgrove was pumping so much they thought he was cheating, dude. Like, like these guys, they were good. They weren't fatigued come the end of the season, which I think is a huge thing, especially if you're trying to win a championship, not just like get through the season. It's like you want to get through the season, but also be good come October and be ready to go. Could we see even a lot of these aces come out in the postseason? They don't like look like themselves, even like they don't look like they did a couple months before. So I think that's a big thing, and I think I'm with you. I think it's going to be one or the other, and that's who they're going to go in with. But also said, I think they're like okay right now. I just think it's kind of like you just keep getting better and better and better. And the Padres are projected to be like a top 3 team next year. So
Mhm.
it's worth it to keep getting better and better and better and do as much as you can to keep, extending the gap between you and the teams below you, and really just, be a top tier team. Be a better team on paper against the Mets, because everyone has the Mets on paper as, oh, they're so good. Dude, the Mets are the most injury prone team in the
That's
league.
very
They're
nice,
like,
yeah.
oh, so, and if they sign Correa, it's like, well, Correa is not getting signed for a reason, guys. Like, obviously, it seemed like the Giant. Okay, it's funny because when we were talking about Correa a little bit, and I guess we can switch over real quick. Anything else on Pablo Lopez? Because I do want to talk about Correa.
No, not much on Pablo Lopez, man. I mean, he would be a great acquisition. One thing, the Padres starting rotation currently has Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Nick Martinez, and Seth Lugo probably as their 1 through 5. Four righties, one lefty. So there could be a lefty arm that we don't know of that's on the market that AJ's probably trying to go after. We'll probably have to look into that. But yeah, I mean, Lopez is definitely, no matter what. I don't care if it's a righty or a lefty. We just need another pitcher.